Good evening once more and welcome to the broadcast. My name is Abdiaziz. Hashim, our sign language interpreter. At the bottom end of the screen is Joyce Warimu. And we start at Parliament buildings where embattled Nairobi Governor Mike Muguso will be forced to defend himself against all allegations leveled against him before all 67 senators. This is after the Senate Majority Leader Samuel Pohisho declined to give a notice of motion for the formation of 11 members to investigate allegations leveled against the county boss. Here's Kenneth Kazungu with more.
They came here ready to chart the path that would determine the fate facing the city father who was impeached last week by the county assembly.
Order, senators, you need to listen to the charges because this is what will help. And I want you to listen to this one.
Senate Speaker Ken Lusaka reading the charges one by one facing the embattled county chief, most of which border on abuse of office.
By persistently and willfully using, publicizing and publishing abusive and unbecoming words and language as evidenced by his social media posts and numerous rants in which he has hurled abuses and conducted himself in a manner that undermines and demeans the office of the governor.
And there is so much more.
The governor has abused his office by violating Article 75 of the Constitution as read together with Section 16 of the Leadership and Integrity Act 2012 by unlawfully using public funds to pay for his daughter's travel to New York, USA, to allegedly attend the County First Ladies Conference.
And after intense deliberations, his fate was briefly placed in the hands of our 11-member committee, which was tasked with investigating the claims.
Speaker, sir, for the convenience of the House, I propose we skip that. I'm not going to give notice.
Before President Uhuru Kenyatta's point man at the upper house changed the course by refusing to endorse the idea of going the special committee way.
The majority leader, having withdrawn or otherwise abandoned the notice of motion, and therefore the motion, the route of committee is therefore abandoned, and that now, order members, and that now means that the Senate will investigate this matter in plenary.
Sonko's impeachment has been seen by many as more than meets the eye, bearing all the markings of a wider political scheme, if these sentiments by the president on Monday are anything to go by.
Huyu mnaitanga super governor, mimi sijui hiyo ni matusi, lakini if all of us had the discipline, the integrity of our armed forces, our defense forces, Kenya ingekuwa mbali sana.
Sonko now has a week to prepare his defense before his date with the Senate on Thursday and Friday next week.
This being a special sitting, order members, honorable members, this being a special sitting and there being no other business, the Senate stands adjourned.
And indeed, on the 17th and 18th of next week, we'll be there to cover those proceedings and bring what happens in that particular Senate impeachment hearing of the said governor. To other news now, Kenya has improved by 7 points on a new corruption perception index report from position 144 in 2018 to 137 in 2019. However, we are all aware below the global average and we're still below the Africa average. The CPI ranks 180 countries and territories globally by their perceived levels of public sector corruption, according to experts and business people. Now, the report details that corruption ranges from fraud that occurs at the highest level of government to petty bribery that blocks access to basic public services like healthcare and education. Citizens are fed up with the corrupt leaders and institutions. The institutions perceived to be the most corrupt in Kenya include the National Police Service, the Public Service, Land Administration, Tax, and Public Procurement. Here's Jeff Haimba with more.
The fight against corruption in Kenya, too many will assume to be a rhetorical song, whose journey has hit hills and mountains. The head of state Uhuru Kenyatta assured the Kenyans to walk the talk, but too many feel the war of corruption has been politicized. Graft agencies during Kenyatta's second time in office intensified graft purge. That saw several governors, cabinet secretaries, and the other high-profile persons facing the bar. The dramatic arrests, whose prosecution is yet to be realized, is what has earned Kenya the marks during the International Anti-Corruption Day. In the report released by the Transparency International Corruption Perception Index, Kenya moved by 7 points, from position 144 in 2018 to 137 in the year 2019. While leading celebration in Kiambu County, Attorney General Paul Kihara assured the Kenyans no one will be spared in the war against corruption.
Let us act. Let us act going forward from here. I trust that we shall be frank and honest in all our engagements, recognizing the success, identifying the challenges, and making recommendations for further reforms.
Kiambu is the only county where Governor Ferdinand Waititu was impeached from the office on grounds of corruption. His place was taken over by James Nyoro, who was then the deputy governor.
But I want to confirm that we as a county, and together with my colleagues at COG, will be working together so that we can start to get some of the best performing counties in terms of fight against corruption.
Eliud Wabukala, EACC chairperson, who was among the leaders who led the country in marking the Anti-Corruption Day, says there is needed to embrace integrity as a public servant.
That indeed our Constitution at Chapter 6 and many other objects within it allow us to begin to be a nation guided by integrity. And that if we can create that culture beginning from an individual, at an individual level, we cannot be fighting corruption day out, day in, because it will be part of our life, where we don't look at a shilling as something to take, but like if you have a dog and throw a shilling to the dog will just pass by.
According to the government and the corruption report, the Kenya National Police Service is ranked as the most corrupt institution in the country, and bribery is reported to be the easiest way the police services. Reporting for Ebru TV, I'm Jeff Haemba.
Jeff Haemba, thank you for those particular insights. Now, a legal battle is in the offing between suppliers and the Kenya Medical Supplies Agency, KEMSA. This is after the agency will be able to sell PPEs worth over 6 billion that have been lying idle in its warehouse at the current market price, according to the Ministry of Health. Before the Senate's Health Committee, CS Dr. Mercy Mwangangi has said that the agency requires an endorsement from the Cabinet before they start releasing the PPEs to various county governments before the end of this week. According to the Ministry of Health, there are various county governments that are already drawing PPEs from the Kenya Medical Supplies Agency at the current market price. CS Dr. Mercy Mwangangi has said that by the end of this week, the government will have resolved one of the issues raised by the healthcare workers who have already downed their tools.
And we made further inquiries, and we were advised that we need to follow due procedure, that a cabinet memo is required, because this memo requires to be endorsed not only by the Ministry of Health, but also by National Treasury. And so members, in terms of progress, we've already passed that memo. It has already gone through the PS committee. It has gone to cabinet. As of yesterday, it was discussed and it has been ratified. There is a letter, members, actually in draft format. We are just waiting for the paperwork to come through from cabinet, and that will be available. So kindly give us till Friday to be able to finish off on this issue.
However, the move could irk the suppliers, who will incur losses if the PPEs are sold at the current market price. Already, the suppliers had maintained that they have not been paid what they owe the supply agency.
We are also looking to mobilize to see how can we mobilize approximately 800 million for procurement and distribution of stocks for PPEs held in KEMSA. So there's processes underway to ensure that these PPEs reach the facility. Counties are still drawing, however, the prices being high, they are still drawing. And we do expect that by the time this letter comes out on Friday, the situation will have eased and we'll be able to plug the gaps in terms of the PPEs.
And that is the position, what I was saying. We can tell the striking doctors that we have two issues here. That it is not true that county governments do not have PPEs, because KEMSA has indicated that they are still drawing these regardless of the price.
The health workers before the Senate's Health Committee had a bone to pick with several county heads present at the meeting. Isiolo County government is on the spot after a nurse succumbed to COVID-19. It is alleged that the healthcare worker died of negligence. Governor Mohamed Kuti, who attended the meeting virtually from a hospital bed, said that the county has never had an ICU facility since independence and the county residents can be treated in one that was put in place due to the surging pandemic. The area Senator Fatuma Dulo was quick to dismiss that fact, saying that the county does not have a health facility, even as the county government says there is an ICU facility. The push and pull between the local leaders has left Isiolo residents in limbo.
The other issue that my very good senator raised was the ICU. The ICU was set up at KMTC classes, but there was challenge of piped oxygen and running water because this was classrooms, and then we had said it was an emergency. We never had actually ICU in Isiolo for the last 50 years of independence. We have never had it, but due to the COVID, we set up an ICU, and the ICU was only for COVID patients.
Can we put this witness on oath? Because I'm not going to accept this.
No, Senator
Is it possible?
County governments of Laikipia and Kirinyaga were also quick to dismiss the cries of the medics, as both counties dismissed a number of healthcare workers, and the issues between the healthcare workers and the various county heads are before the courts.
As of now, we have a court ruling that reinstated these doctors. The Laikipia County government appealed. The appeal was dismissed. So our doctors have been working since their reinstatement, but are yet to be admitted and paid. I request that you protect me, Chair, and let the governor stand up.
On a point of order. My point of order is this, Mr. Chairman. We as stakeholders in this meeting, is it going to be in order for us to make allegations or bring data and documentation to the committee?
The health system continues to take hits from the adverse effects of COVID-19 as thousands of patients continue to be admitted in already overwhelmed hospitals, thus placing the country in a compromising situation even as the country stares at a second wave of the said virus. Healthcare workers have not been spared by the virus, as a number of them have already succumbed to the deadly contagion. Now, still within the health sector, intern doctors have stepped up the pressure in seeking to have the demands of healthcare workers' issues addressed. Now, the practicing doctors now claim that they are overworking and exposed to COVID-19, with the government less concerned about their plight. Milia Kisenya reports.
The death of Dr. Stephen Muguso, who had served only for 5 months before COVID drowned him while on duty, continues eliciting different reactions. The reactions largely drawn from the health workers, who have decried being thrown into the jaws of the deadly virus due to the lack of necessary resources to help fight the disease. The latest reaction drawn from the Kenya Young Doctors Association.
We don't have enough protections. We don't have adequate standards of PPEs. We actually buy our own PPEs because the government won't offer. There are interns who have finished school, who are working at the front line and haven't been paid for months, and they are working diligently.
Camping outside the Ministry of Health, the Kenya Young Doctors all anticipating to pay their last respect to Dr. Stephen Muguso, who had served only for 5 months as a doctor after his practice.
Your right hand in the air, comrades! Comrades, your right.
The vigil preparation would later turn to a protest, seeking answers from a ministry that had failed to honor.
I'm a 6th-year medical student. I was close friends with Muguso. We worked with him in the student association. This man was a gentleman. It is great loss. It is sad that such a young man, such great potential has been lost, and this country is doing nothing about it. It's time we make a stand. It's time we make a stand for our doctors, for our colleagues. And if you are not going to help us, we are going to make the stand alone. But we need you. We need all Kenyans to hear this. This is disappointing.
Our health system has collapsed. And that if we do not take a collective responsibility, then I do not know that in the next 5 or 10 years, what we'll be doing as a country.
The young doctors, who are in their final years, claim to be overworked with little protection, forcing the likes of emotional Wanjeri Millicent to quit her practice due to the exposure.
The primary reason why I stopped practicing is because of unemployment, so to say. Because at the wake of completion of our internship program, there is no guarantee whether you will be absorbed by the system, whereby in this case we're talking about the county government, or we're talking about the Ministry of Health. Yeah? So when you look at such inefficiencies whereby for a service that is desperately needed, you do not know where you stand. Yes, I can confidently say about 10 to 15% of my class right now, we are non-practicing, not because of choice. But it's even more worrying that a bigger percentage, nearly about 30 to 40%, are currently unemployed, settling for dismal rates.
Elsewhere, a section of Catholic bishops from the Kenya Conference of Catholic Bishops have also called upon the government to resolve the health workers' stalemate, claiming those suffering were innocent Kenyans.
The strikes sometimes end up on the streets with the battles between the medical staff and the police. The suffering patients go through whenever there is a strike. It should remind us that saving life ought to be a priority for both the government and the medical staff.
Well, the spirit of involving the government to be part of the welfare of the health workers in the country amidst the COVID-19 pandemic continues to take shape. The latest from the Kenya Young Doctors Association, who are part of the protest. However, for the government still maintains its stand to have met 90% of their demands. Milia Kisenya for Ebru TV.
Milia Kisenya, thank you for that report. Now, the Kenya National Union of Nurses has today advised medics against working in hazardous conditions in hospitals without adequate protective equipment following the death of a young doctor at the mercy of the unforgiving virus. The striking workers, including nurses and clinical officers, lamented that many of their colleagues are dying from COVID-19 without the government blinking an eye. And on the same, Agriculture Cabinet Secretary Peter Munya has said that the pandemic cannot stop the proponents of the BBI report from making changes to the 2010 Constitution.
The effect of the strike, which was announced on Monday, has seen many people in the country lament the lack of services in public hospitals. The Union Secretary General Seth Panyako said his members will not resume work until their grievances are addressed by the government.
It is the duty of the employees, those are the nurses, to leave their places of work when they feel they are not safe or their life is threatened. Lack of personal protective equipment shows clearly that the workplace has become dangerous.
The union now wants a commission of health workers to be included in the constitutional amendment bill this year through the BBI report.
We don't want a key department in this country called health sector to be left behind, and yet you are saying you are building bridges. How can you be building bridges when you are leaving a key sector like that of health out of BBI? BBI must build and bring everybody on board so that we work together as a nation.
In addition, the nurses also want to be provided with a health insurance that will cover various treatments, including the coronavirus infection while on the job.
To make sure that nurses who fall sick are able to access medical care services without having to go through mental torture, distress, and finally die due to emotional thinking of huge medical bills.
As the strike continues to shake the nation in the worst possible of ways, a statement earlier by the Minister for Agriculture, Peter Munya, addressing the media, exposed the true intent of leaders in the country.
COVID just came, it will go away. We are fighting it. Dealing with the constitution does not stop you from fighting COVID. I mean, those two issues, how are they related?
Munya deliberately saying that the coronavirus pandemic should not in any way halt development efforts in the country, a statement coming at a time when health workers continue to deal with the pangs of the virus, make more valid the fact that health workers indeed are on their own.
I mean, how does an issue that threatens the very existence of the nation become a non-issue because there is a pandemic?
Without a doubt, this reveals neglect and selfishness of the government of the highest levels after failing to address and implement issues raised by healthcare providers for the longest time.
The challenges, this pandemic is everywhere. Even in America, they are dealing with it. Did they stop elections?
However, Panyako was quick to advise health workers not to return to work until a time when the government considers their needs.
The union shall only direct her members to report on duty when a thorough safety and health audit of all nursing places shall have been carried out by a safety and health advisor, and such findings agreed upon by the union.
Now, still with the nurses in Makueni County now maintain that they are firmly part of the ongoing nationwide strike, contrary to the reports that they had called off the industrial action after reaching an agreement with the Kivutha Kibwana-led county administration. They have called out on health CEC over what they say is malice.
Tunataka kuelezea masikitiko yetu na mshangao wetu kwa zile habari tumezipata kwenye vyombo vya habari eti sisi kama wauguzi wa Makueni County tumefutilia mbali ule mgomo ambao uko hapa Kenya wa wauguzi. Hii tumeshangaa kusikia waziri wetu wa afya Daktari Mulwa amesema tulikuwa na kikao na yeye na tukakubaliana ya kwamba tumesitisha hiyo mgomo. Hapa nataka kusema ya kwamba hii mgomo ni ya kitaifa na iliitishwa na Secretary General wa Nurses Kenya, Seth Panyako. Si mgomo ya Makueni County, na sisi kama viongozi wa Makueni County na wahudumu wa Makueni County hatuna uwezo wa kusimamisha ama kusitisha hiyo mgomo mpaka ile siku mkubwa wetu katika national level Secretary General Seth Panyako atasema mgomo umefika baada ya kupata ama ile maneno ama matakwa yenye tumewasilisha mbele ya serikali itatatuliwa. Kwa hivyo napenda kuelezea wananchi wa Makueni na Kenya kwa jumla kwamba sisi kama wauguzi wa Makueni bado ile mgomo ya kitaifa inaendelea, hata si bado tuko katika hiyo mgomo.
Hata sisi tulishikwa na mshangao. Hatuwezi tukaelezea bwana minister alikuwa na nia gani ndio aweze kusema tumesitisha mgomo. Juu hiyo notice yenye tulimpatia huwa tunapeana after every 30 days. Juu hii county iliissue mgomo 28th mwezi wa 9. Na after every 30 days huwa tuna extend. So 30 days zetu zilikuwa zinatakikana zifike tarehe 11 mwezi wa 12 na tulionelea tuwapatie mapema.
Narok Senator Ledama Olekina was at pains to explain the circumstances under which he leaked a payslip said to belong to Dr. Stephen Muguso, who succumbed to COVID-19 related complications on Monday. KMPDU Secretary General Dr. Chibanzi Mochoda called out Ledama for what he said was parading a private matter in the public domain. Mochoda demanded an apology before the start of the committee session.
Demanding an apology from Senator Ledama Olekina for parading a payslip of our deceased colleague, a private matter on national TV. To us, that was not an act of responsibility in a matter that is very, very heartbreaking. Chair, before we proceed, that's the request we have.
Mr. Chairman, my intentions were definitely not to hurt anybody. And if they were taken, and I believe they were taken as if they were intended to hurt, I apologize. In fact, that payslip was to support the position of the union that the doctors have not been paid because it had issues of arrears. But I definitely stand corrected. If it was taken in a negative way, those actions are regretted.
Okay, thank you, Senator Ledama. I think apologies have been offered.
Thank you, Senator. And thank you, Chair. Apologies accepted.
Now turning to our COVID-19 stats, 7 more patients have succumbed to COVID-19 in the country, raising the death toll fatalities in the country to 1,552. Health CS Mutahi Kagwe in a statement said the country's caseload is now 89,661 after 561 tested positive in the last 24 hours. The country has also witnessed 355 numbers of recovery, bringing the total number of recoveries to 70,194. 274 are from the home-based care program, while 81 are from various health facilities across the country. Now, on the political front, Building Bridges Initiative BBI Secretariat is set to present its signatures to the Independent Electoral and Boundaries Commission IEBC on Thursday amid calls to have dialogue aimed at amending the document. Deputy President William Ruto has insisted to have some clauses of the BBI report altered, saying as currently proposed, they intend to weaken rights of Kenyans. And as our reporter Jeff Khaemba puts it, BBI proponents have vowed not to leave any stone unturned in the push for the constitutional reforms.
Calls to have constitutional amendments have intensified, with the proponents of the BBI utilizing every available minute to pursue their cause of action. On Wednesday, the team announced to take the next step of presenting their collected signatures to the electoral body IEBC on Thursday.
I want to say that we are going forward. The train has left the station, and we are not going to, all views have been captured. We are going to take our signatures to IEBC for verification. After that, we shall move to the next process, which is the county assemblies. Then from there, we will have a referendum.
We expect them to be done within a reasonable time. Maybe even if it's 1 week, we'll be very happy to get it within a week or two because we have very tight schedule.
The Junet Mohammed and Dennis Waweru-led secretariat has defied all the means by a section of the Kenyans moving to court in seeking BBI legal interpretation. The BBI team says there is no turning back as they accused Deputy President William Ruto of playing tricks to scuttle the process in pursuit for talks aimed at amending the document.
Cannot say that we must continue talking. For how long are we going to continue talking? We have talked for 2 years. When we were changing the previous constitution of 2010, the public participation was only for 4 months. This one took 2 good years in terms of engagement with the people. So for how long are we going to talk? If we keep on talking, then we will have no time to do these other processes that we are trying to do now.
Agriculture Cabinet Secretary Peter Munya, who doubles up as the PNU party leader, joined the debate by slamming Ruto of just sitting at the fence to poke holes on well-crafted proposals.
Sasa ukituambia wewe si hiyo, siui nini, COVID just came, it will go away. We are fighting it. Dealing with the constitution does not stop you from fighting COVID. I mean, those two issues, how are they related? I mean, how does an issue that threatens the very existence of the nation become a non-issue because there is a pandemic? This pandemic is everywhere. Even in America, they are dealing with it. Did they stop elections?
Part of the issues William Ruto is pushing for is the provision of multiple choices in regard to a section of the report amendments where Kenyans will make a choice. However, Peter Munya faults the system fronted by William Ruto, saying it's time wasting.
Multiple choices, already there is a multiple choice. It's just that the answers are 2. Yes and no. Yes, exactly. A multiple choice. Yes. There's no lack of choice.
A section of the Catholic bishops maintain they are standing to have BBI dialogue in order to arrive at consensus.
Yale ambayo yanafaa tuyaingize ndani, yale ambayo yanahitaji kungoja yangoje, lakini tuwe na nchi ambayo hatutagandamizana tukikimbizana na hali za utawala na watu wanabaki wameumia.
If we can finish, we can look into this time now. Next year is still time. We will be doing it in time. If we see that we can postpone it for another longer time, it is still time. We say we want to handle the issues first. It's not a question of time first, but it's a question of what are we doing.
It remains unknown how long IEBC will take to verify the BBI signatures, even as the BBI team hopes for the process to be finalized within a week. Reporter for Ebru TV, I'm Jeff Khaemba.
That story by Jeff Khaemba takes us to a first commercial break here on Ebru Primetime News on this, the 9th of December 2020. Don't go too far, I'll be back with more news. Welcome back and thank you for staying with us. Now, as the Christmas season approaches, more than 100 vehicles have been seized in Eldoret following a crackdown on vehicles that do not comply with the safety rules along roads in collaboration with NTSA. Several vehicles were impounded for various violations, including use of unprescribed registration plates that have not been issued by NTSA.
Speaking at the time of the search, Deputy Commissioner of Police Anthony Kamitu said the aim of the search was to remove vehicles that violate traffic rules and warning car owners and drivers who violate rules that serious action will be taken.
Kuna wengine wanaendesha magari na wametamba na speed governance. Hiyo tunaangalia. Alafu pia mbio kwa sababu mnajua wakati ya msimu wa Christmas watu ukaa kama wako excited. Hatujui ni kwa nini lakini unakuta ajali nyingi zinafanyika during hii msimu ya Christmas.
However, the Deputy Commissioner was backed up by NTSA Director Brenda Sawe, who said the search will continue until January next year.
Pia tunataka kuwahimiza madrivers wao waangalifu. Pia tunafanya sensitization kwa mabasi kama kwa abiria tunaeleza haki zao kama abiria, na pia tunaeleza driver pia ni masharti gani anafaa kufanya ili kuhakikisha amefikisha madrivers maabiria zake wafike mahali wanapoenda salama.
On the other hand, some drivers and passengers supported the move, saying that it will prevent road accidents, especially during the Christmas season.
Kwa hii operation naangalia sio mbaya. Sababu mtu anaweza kuja na gari ambayo imeoza. Akifika kwa barabara anafanya ajali. Na hataki aambiwe ati gari ni mbaya. Sawa.
NTSA nimeona wamefanya mzuri kwa sababu unaweza pata yenyewe kuna gari iko na shida. Alafu imekuja kwa barabara. Alafu pia driver hataki kujua. Driver anaenda tu amejaza watu. Alafu unapata ajali imefanyika.
Wangoi Kamweru, Ebru TV.
President Uhuru Kenyatta and Ethiopian Prime Minister Abiy Ahmed have formally opened the Moyale one-stop border post. The move has been hailed as a step forward towards strengthening cross-border bilateral trade and improving cooperation between the two countries. The president called upon the citizens of Moyale, regardless of their ethnicity, to work in tandem for the realization of integration between the two countries.
Kenyan President Uhuru Kenyatta met his Ethiopian counterpart Ahmed Abiy in Marsabit County as they both officially launched the Moyale one-stop border post. This marked the Prime Minister's first foreign visit after the skirmishes witnessed in the Ethiopian region of Tigray. Speaking at the launch, Abiy said the project was possible because of the unity between the two countries.
And it is a great joy for me to witness that we are one people, one family, into two countries with artificial border.
The Prime Minister further challenged President Uhuru Kenyatta to work on the security of the northern region, which he says will help transform it, given its potential.
As my brother was telling us about our friendship, my message for him today is, just like the infrastructure, we should work on peace and security of this area. Because peace is a foundation for everything we are aspiring to transform the life of our people. If we could eliminate Al-Shabaab and OLA from this region, you can see how these people can be transformed into one family, one country, one people with great joy and cooperation.
President Kenyatta said his administration attaches great importance to its partnership with the Ethiopian government in the rollout of joint infrastructure projects, saying such initiatives are aimed at deepening the strong bilateral ties that exist between the two countries.
Watu wawe wanakuja hapa Moyale, vijana wa Kenya wapate kazi, vijana wa Ethiopia wapate kazi, na watu wanakuja kununua vyombo vyao hapa na kuzipeleke katika nchi zingine. Hiyo ndio mwanzo wa uhusiano mwema. That is the beginning of true partnership, true cooperation.
President also spoke about cross-border insecurity in the region, saying both the Kenyan and the Ethiopian authorities will not relent in efforts to ensure lasting peace and tranquility among the common border.
And we must also work together, because we cannot establish an economic victory if we are consistently also going to be having security challenges. So we must work together as two neighbors to deal with those elements who live in and amongst us and who threaten the peace and the stability of both Kenya and Ethiopia. Lazima tufanye kazi pamoja, tuwaondoe kati yetu, na ndio tuweze kuhakikisha ya kwamba tumelete utajiri na kuinua na kubadilisha maisha ya wananchi wa Moyale na wa Kenya mzima.
The Prime Minister is on a 2-day official visit to Kenya, aimed at increasing the volume of trade between the two countries whilst tightening their friendship.
This great transformative project complete or will be completed in the near future.
The third Young Scientist Kenya National Science and Technology exhibition entered its second day today, with stakeholders urging female students to venture into STEM subjects. Meanwhile, local scientists have been challenged to seek solution through research on the challenges facing Africa in health, manufacturing, infrastructure and food security.
Principal Secretary, State Department for University Education and Research, Ambassador Simon Nabukwesi, noted that institutions of higher learning have capacity to work together and do meaningful research capable of making an impact in solving the common problems experienced in Africa. The PS said universities can make positive contributions by prioritizing research and showcasing some of the successful research and innovations prepared in the universities in order to demystify the notion that higher education institutions were not engaging in productive research. The PS was speaking during a workshop organized by the National Research Fund in Naivasha to assess the progress made on the research funding management of COVID-19 pandemic, responding to the threat of desert locust invasion and a management of incidences of cancer. The PS commended NRF for developing a documentary showcasing various research activities which have been funded by the government, adding that the documentaries demystify the notion of deteriorating training in universities and present a positive impression on the benefits of research. Despite limited fund, it was noted that researchers were able to demonstrate the utilization of funds through the various successful projects in agriculture, manufacturing, health and ICT. Ambassador Nabukwesi told researchers to lay emphasis on the youth pursuing science courses in the universities and encouraged them to venture into research, and also asked them to take advantage of the seed fund to mobilize resources, noting that the 2% government funding is inadequate. The PS said plans were on course to increase research funds programs of priority. Busara Naman for Ebru TV.
Now, following up on a story that aired on Ebru TV in regards to the forceful eviction, demolition of the home of 3 widows in Mvita constituency, it has emerged that the OCS of Makupa police station is now likely to face legal action. They claim that the OCS acted with impunity in overseeing the demolition of the houses. Our reporter Aziza Hashim with more details on that story.
A few weeks ago, the family of the late Salim Faraj was rendered homeless following the unlawful demolition of their home. The demolition, which was carried out at Majengo Kingorani stage in Mvita constituency, saw the family and the surrounding neighbors counting their losses after hired goons carried out the demolition at midnight under the supervision of police officers. The council is set to institute a private prosecution against police officers in Mombasa County on grounds of abuse of office. The advocate Lumatete Walubengo Muchai will take up the matter against the OCS in charge of Makupa Police Station on behalf of the family involved in a residential cum commercial house ownership dispute.
Sisi kama shirika la Muhuri hatuna budi bali sasa kwenda kotini kwa niaba ya jamii ya hapa King'orani, kwa niaba ya hii familia pamoja na waathiriwa wote ambao unaona hapa. Hawa ni wafanyikazi wa hapa makanika, vitu vyao viliibiwa, polisi wakiangalia.
He challenged the government to offer an explanation as to how an eviction was carried out at night during curfew hours. One of the late Salim's son, who is also the family's spokesperson, commented on the demolition, expressing his disappointment in the failure of implementation of the legal system in their case.
Kama Muhuri narudia na mpigo, we are moving to court. Tutashtaki OCS, tutashtaki as individual. Hatutajificha nyuma ya AG. Manake ukishafanya maovu, wewe unakimbia, serikali inakutetea. OCS, we are coming for you. Makupa OCS as individual. And this time round, you will pay for this.
Another tenant who operated a garage, Dennis Okinyi, spoke on the losses and difficulties they had experienced since the demolition.
Polisi wanakuja usiku wa manane, watu wamelala wakati wa curfew, kuja kuvunja nyumba ambao wanajua kesi iko kwa court. Kusema kweli si haki. Tunaomba wote wanaohusika, Inspector General aangalie hii maneno.
Tumekuwa na shida sana tangu hii nyumba ivunjwe. Hata manyundo, grenda tulikuwa tunatumia, wafanya magari siku hizi wanakuja wanakimbia tu. Tumekuwa na njaa tangu hiyo siku mpaka sasa hii.
The family is now hopeful that the law will take its course and the perpetrators of the unlawful demolition will be brought to book. For Ebru TV News, my name is Aziza Hashim.
And now let's get down to business. Kisumu County has finally launched a modern and affordable housing program. Presiding over the was Kisumu Governor Peter Anyang' Nyong'o, who lauded the initiative, saying the move will attract more investors in the county. The project will see more than 1,200 houses constructed in less than 48 months. Our Kisumu-based reporter with more.
As Kisumu County officially launched modern and affordable housing program, leaders led by Kisumu Governor Peter Anyang' Nyong'o have lauded the initiative, saying it will attract more investors in the county.
This document is key in injecting integrity in the Kisumu County built environment that has been subject to abuse in the past, as Abala has explained to you today. This is a public document that I would like to encourage investors in the built environment to read. Kama Wakenya, tunataka kujenga nyumba hapa Kisumu na Nairobi na kadhalika with our own pensions funds for our own people. Kama sivyo?
Don't bring people from outside to start working these projects.
Nyong'o said measures to keep off land cartels will be implemented, including land zoning in the city, a move which was echoed by city manager Bala Wanga, who said land grabbers have no space.
Because of the geophysical and spatial plan we are put in place, we are going to zone the city to make sure the residential areas are respected and they're integrated neighborhoods, and to make sure that industrial areas are all respected and other areas that appertain to good living in our city. Wanajigamba hapa Makasembo, sisi tunakuja. Hivi karibuni hawa jamaa wataona kilichong'oa kanga manyoya. Sawa sawa.
We are going to flatten those properties. I'll come with a dozer with my team, and Governor, by end of next year, all the properties that were grabbed will be taken back. And I'm going to take on your friend the big people first.
The project being spearheaded by Laptrust will see over 1,200 modern houses being constructed. Daniel Dembede, Ebru TV, Kisumu County.
Daniel Dembede, thank you for that piece. Now brace yourself for tough times ahead, economic times ahead, as members of the National Assembly meet to give the seal of approval for the reversals contained in the Tax Law Bill 2020. This move will mean that although most salaried workers underwent pay cuts early this year, the tax burden will inevitably become too tough for most workers to bear. Kaunga Chule with more.
The looming end of the tax relief measures has been viewed as a blow to personal incomes as the Kenyan economy continues to bleed from the pandemic. Included in the tax reversal plan is the reinstatement of the value-added tax rate to 16% from 14%. The change does not, however, require requisite parliament approval. Many people lost their jobs in the wake of tough economic times earlier this year in the aftermath of the COVID-19 pandemic, and the return of higher taxes is likely to complicate matters further for salaried employees. The tax and wage burdens will also be too high for most employers, considering that many companies have not been performing well financially, with economic experts saying that whether the case will change or stay the same, only time will tell. Historically, moves by the government through the National Treasury to raise taxes on highly sought-after items in a bid to raise more revenue from them have not borne fruit. A common beer can, for instance, in the 1990s cost 20 shillings, but in the government's bid to raise more revenue from the sales of beer, not only did they fail to meet their target, the beer sales also went down with more people resorting to cheaper liquor. This substitution effect has been felt over the years in different sectors. Each time the taxman's knock is heard at items' door, and this time round, employers are likely to lay off more people as they seek to employ cheaper labor. Kamunga Chule, Ebru TV.
Let's get sporty. Football Kenya Federation FKF has suspended Mathare United and Zoo FC from taking part in the FKF Premier League. However, the two rebel clubs have been given 48 hours to salvage their stay in the top flight if they move to sign the broadcast deal. Now, a meeting of the National Executive Committee NEC members held at the Federation offices situated at Goal Project has also given Ulinzi Stars until Monday, December 14, 2020 at 5 p.m. to return papers showing they have endorsed the deal, or else they will be expelled alongside the two clubs. The 2020-2021 season got underway 2 weeks ago, and already teams that signed the broadcast deal have received 2 million Kenya shillings from sponsors. Now, still with the governing body, Football Kenya Federation FKF has been slapped with a 1 million shilling fine by the Confederation of African Football Disciplinary Board for breach of CAF security during the 2021 African Cup of Nations qualifying match pitting Kenya's Harambee Stars and Comoros. Now, the decision stated that Kenya went against the CAF statutes and regulations of CAF disciplinary code by allowing dignitaries to talk to the team. Now they join Arsenal in the Europa League, and that marks the end of our bulletin on this, the 9th of December 2020. My name is Abdiaziz. Hashim, language interpreter at the bottom end of your screen has been Joyce Waremu, and a special thanks to the gallery team and here in the studio for making this production possible. For now, I leave you with the weather outlook. Good evening.